to Swansea podcast episode 2. So we got Glamorgan's Roman Walker with us. We've got Swansea's legendary and ex-captain Gareth Hayden, stalwart. And we've got Hasan Hayat with us as well, the second team captain and Twitter coin toss champion. So welcome, lad. How are we all doing? Roman, you okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah. Surviving what's going on at the moment, innit? But it all looks on the up, to be fair. All looks promising for the club cricket as well, from what I've heard.
Yeah. Fingers crossed we can get out in the next couple of weeks. Has, how you been keeping, bud? Number 1 on the Strava this week, so you must be keeping busy.
Yeah, all good. Thanks, pal. Yeah, Strava, great idea. So thanks to you and Kazi for setting this up. Yeah, it's been great. Just getting out during lockdown, and it's not just good for the sort of physical health, but helps relax the mind as well after a busy day. So yeah, all good, and looking forward to getting out soon, hopefully.
Good stuff. And G, you've been cycling your legs off as well. I've seen the Swansea to Mumbles route.
I'm a bit stiff this morning, mate. I'll be honest. In a nice 20-miler yesterday, I'm a bit stiff. I'm not like Haas. Haas has got an electric scooter. That's why he's top of the chart. I've seen him going up and down Mumbles non-stop with this electric scooter. But no, I'm enjoying. The weather's got a bit better now, so much prefer to go on the bike, and running's not for me. So no, I enjoyed it.
Will you be going over the new Swansea Bridge that's recently just gone in?
Yeah, it went in last night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to have a little look at that. That looks smart, doesn't it?
Looks all right, doesn't it?
Just as you come in. Fans can watch us, yeah.
Yeah.
Fans can watch us, walk across the bridge, can watch us. No, it looks right, to be fair. Looks good.
Yeah. And yeah, brilliant. So like, hopefully, we've got sort of 3-4 weeks before our first pre-season game. Rome, you must have your, Glamorgan pre-season stuff would be sort of starting this month, I would guess, would it?
Yeah, towards the end of this month, I think. I think we're keeping it within the club for a couple of short games. And I think we've got Somerset the week after that in a 3-day friendly, which is good. I mean, good opposition to start a pre-season up against, isn't it? See where you're at coming out of the winter.
And in terms of, that is really nice start. Somerset strong on paper. Lots of their boys have been away over the winter in different various tournaments as well. And in terms of how you've trained in your pre-season, Rome, how are you feeling, Brad? How's the body?
Yeah, feeling good actually. Body's feeling good. Grooving a couple of things over the winter. Changed a couple of things with the bowling side of things and batting, to be fair. But all looks, well, obviously, when you change things, it's hopefully for the positive. So all looks pretty good so far. I just think it's a case of grooving what I've learned going into the season, really.
Yeah, and I mean, we caught up a couple of times in Cardiff for a couple of sessions and stuff, and you were going through some new batting drills and techniques that you'd been working with Gary Palmer, the international type renowned batting coach. Are you still in contact with him regularly and trying to keep those things ticking over? Yeah.
I coached off Gary years and years ago when I was younger. Luckily, my dad managed to scrape a few quid together to send me down to his academy and learn a few things a couple of years ago. And it's every now and then when I feel a bit lost when we're batting. And I sort of think as a young lad, obviously you'll grow up and you'll learn yourself what's good for you and what isn't. But I think I just needed another voice to sort of chip in and tell me what he thinks. And obviously I'm not going to take everything in, but there's some really important things that I will take along with me. And along with the coaches at Glamorgan this winter, they've done an amazing job of working with me, especially. Good one-to-one coaching, good tips, and technique-wise, it's looking good. And I've got massive faith in what the guys at Glamorgan are doing for me. But sometimes you do need another voice when you're low on confidence, just to sort of have a look. And Gary was that voice because he's one of the only coaches who I've had extensive coaching with in the past.
Yeah, and I mean it's obviously really important that you trust someone's opinions, and like you said at Glamorgan, you've got Matt Maynard there. You've got Shawsey. I'm sure Steve James has been in a couple of times maybe to do so. And those guys are Glamorgan legends in terms of what they achieved as batters. So fair play. Like you're obviously moving in the right direction. So in terms of Championship cricket and white ball cricket, where are you seeing yourself at the moment? Are you seeing yourself trying to knock down the doors in both forms, or are you seeing yourself as a sort of 7-8 in Championship cricket with the bowling as well? And what's your sort of goals going into 2021?
Well, goals for me, I think it's on a personal level, it's quite difficult to set goals because anything could happen if you don't reach them. You could mess yourself up mentally, and that's a pessimistic way of looking at it, but it's always there. You need to take that into consideration. But I don't really set goals. I think there's stuff that I'd like to do, but I'm pretty much a realist in the way that I should play a couple of white ball games for Glamorgan this year. Hopefully more than just a handful, but that depends on my performances. So I've got to take ownership and sort of get myself on the team sheets. With performances. I mean, I watched a Roy Keane thing the other day on YouTube, and he said that, like he says it how it is, but it's like the players pick the team sheet, if you get what I mean. I mean, you play well in training or you do well in matches, they can't say no to you. So that's the sort of mentality I'm going into the season with. I'm going to play the majority of second team games, but I can change that if I have good performances.
100%, Bud. And I think, you look at the Glamorgan squad this year, and it's a lot lighter than it's been in probably previous years in terms of, players and staff players. So, I think there's 5 or 6 players that are, in terms of the squad being lighter. So, I'm 100% sure you'll get enough opportunities. And, the way you were bowling for us last year in that match against Pontedilla, we had Jeff Evans umpiring, and I remember him saying to me, he bowled one bad ball in 8 overs, and it wasn't really a bad ball. It was just a bit of width. And Jeff has stood in a lot of first class cricket games and championship matches, and one day he's seen a lot of he's highly experienced in that, so that they're good words to have from someone like Jeff. Has, on to you, Bud. In terms of the winter net, we did start in sort of October, November, December, and unfortunately we've been in lockdown since, so we are probably slightly ahead of where most clubs would be, because they, the season finishes September, and most clubs would probably start back up sort of February time. So, some of the guys have had sort of 3 months, 12 weeks more practice than others. How did you find that period?
Yeah, no, it was great. We started pretty much after we finished our August and September games, Brad, and it was great to see so many of our senior and junior players both getting involved with the nets up in Anastawi. So yeah, we've had a good hit. Feels like ages ago now. So, but yeah, I think it can only help once the season starts soon, hopefully. So yeah, it was great to get together with everyone and learn from each other. It was also great to have Roman come down for a few nets with us as well. Always a lot to learn from him and so many other good players. So yeah, just keeping my fingers crossed. We'll be allowed to net again soon, and then hopefully all of that goes into the preseason games in April. So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Good, and you finished the season, the last month or last sort of 3 weeks of the season. You finished in some really good form, didn't you? I know you scored 100 in a Sunday game, and then the following week I think you followed it up with a 60 odd at my stag with a big partnership with Steph. So in terms of moving the season forward, come 2020, what's sort of your main targets, and what sort of role do you want to play within the twos?
Well, the first thing, of course, is the second team captaincy, and there's 2 areas in particular that I'm going to be focusing on. Firstly is because we've got quite a big squad this year and lots of very talented players. It's giving everyone the opportunity to perform and push on for first team selection. And then secondly, it's just continuous improvement every week. That will not only help with us mainly having lots of options when it comes to, in particular, Sunday cricket, cup games, etc. But also it'll ensure that we finish towards the top end of the table. So that'll be the two main areas to focus on from captaincy point of view. From a personal level, it's just a case of cracking on, pushing on with what I've achieved personally last season, and hopefully there'll be more runs and a few wicket keeping dismissals here and there as well. So yeah, that's
good. And Haas has just touched on it. Sunday cricket this year for us is going to be just as important really as the league cricket. You know, we're going to go out there, like Haas has said, we've got quite a big group of guys, and Sundays, you know, lots of guys have bought into the Sunday idea that they want to play. You've won, you know, 3 or 4 Welsh Cups, and Swansea in the past have been very dominant in sort of Welsh Cup cricket, and you know, you led Swansea in those times. Do you think potentially we've got the squad this year to sort of do something similar?
Yeah, definitely. Swansea have got a history of doing well in the Welsh Cup, as you said. We won 2 in a row a few years back. And I think with our squad and the commitment of the lads, that's the main thing on a Sunday, is the commitment of the lads. And I think if everyone buys in, which I think we have done over the last couple of years, and we feel decent size on a Sunday, I don't see any reason why not. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm looking forward to Sunday cricket, and as much cricket as possible. I think we had a couple of years where we haven't played much. So I think everyone will be keen to play both Saturdays and Sundays. As I said, we got a good chance, I'd say. Pretty good chance.
Yeah, and you know, what's been really pleasing for me is you see in the WhatsApp groups, and you know, the newer guys have bought in quite quickly, and you know, the bit of banter flying around in the WhatsApp groups, and everybody's integrating well with each other. This Strava group now, you know, you see him, you know, Brayhart is towards the top most weeks. You know, Gibbo's doing his own sessions with Fitz. So you know, there's quite a lot of things going on. It's not a case of we're all quiet and we haven't seen each other for sort of over the winter months. We've actually all kept in touch quite regularly. We've had Zoom catch-ups. We're doing the fitness class things on a Tuesday, Thursday. The Strava group seems to be doing really well. So I think everybody is really sort of building quite nicely towards hopefully, fingers crossed, the start of the season. You finished the season really well with a fifer. Where do you see your role in terms of, you know, this year in the first team? Do you see yourself as as a senior player now in this team? Looking at our list.
Yeah, of course. Believe it or not, I'm one of the older guys now, which is unbelievable. Maybe not mentally, but but no, it's a role I need to take on. We got a lot of young lads, a lot of new lads as well. So it's important for myself, who've been at the club a long time, to integrate the lads into the club and show them what the club's all about, to be honest with you. So no, looking forward to take a bit of responsibility on, and personally just make sure I win a few games. That's all. I never really look at too much at the stats, how many runs or wickets I score. If I can win the team a couple of games or a handful of games a year, I'm happy with that, to be honest with you. And I think we've got a team full of match winners, so I think if we all do that, then we're going to be right up there. So yeah.
Yeah, look, you're spot on in terms of the position where you've been batting in the last couple of years, coming in sort of 5-6. You certainly have took advantage and won us games. I remember that Welsh Cup quarter-final match up at North Wales when we travelled up there, and we were 30 for 4 chasing 150. And I know you sort of weathered the storm in that first sort of 10-15 overs when you were batting, and then you caught up later in the innings and won us the game without losing another wicket. So that's that type of leadership and your experience. I'm sure this year when we do have maybe a small collapse or we're in a bit of trouble, I'm sure your experience and things like that will get us over the line. Roman, back to you, Brad. Obviously the allocations haven't been announced yet, and you were our allocated player last year, and you did. Hasan touched on it. You've been to a few sessions and helped a number of the guys, especially some of our younger seamers. I guess if in an ideal world you'll be playing in the first team regularly, and we at Swansea definitely hope that's the case. And if you're not, then obviously we'd like to see you. And obviously you've seen St Helens, you've seen the wicket there. So in terms of your batting and bowling, do you think if you were allocated to Swansea, St Helens would be a good fit for your style of play?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a well-known ground for being a good game of cricket, if you know what I mean. Bowlers are always in the game, batters are always in the game. If you dig in, you'll score big runs, and if you bowl well, you'll get paid for it. So I do think it's a really nice ground. Like I said, I've only been there 3 times. Once was for like being 12th man for the first team, and I ended up fielding for 150 overs or whatever it was because Di Lloyd did his knee in. It's a hell of an experience, especially playing at a ground like that with so much history and hearing what's been done there, watching what was done there. I think Kieran and Usman Khawaja scored hundreds each there. I've got memories there, and then obviously playing my first game for Swansea there. It was probably more of a bowler-sided wicket. It wasn't so much bowler-sided the scores showed. But like I say, you bowl well there, you get paid for it. And I had a good spell. I was nipping it about, and it's just a nice place to play. Really nice place.
Yeah, I think it's one of those wickets, isn't it? If a batter gets in, it's very difficult then to sort of get them out. You can trust the bounce there, but then on the flip side, if you bowl good pace and you can get it through, then the carry is there all the time. So I remember, not last year obviously because of COVID reasons, but the year before, I think Derby came to St Helens, and I think Glamorgan made 480 for 7 first innings. Derby made 560 odd for 7, and then Glamorgan batted again 180 for 2. So, in terms of wickets and runs, it is, if you get yourself in, it's one of those quick scoring grounds where you can really get value. And I think someone like you've played against Gibbo, and I think Gibbo made 100, didn't he, in one of the one-day games when Notts played Glamorgan 2 years ago, and I think you dismissed him, didn't you, Rome?
Oh, I can't remember. All I remember is him.
Yeah, like having someone like Gibbo, and the Gibbo's style of batting, I think is very much, he's going to bat. He's not going to give his wicket away. He's the type that's going to try and bat through the innings and will score 130, 140 if he bats the 50 overs. So I think in turn we've got a very strong unit batting side this year, but he's probably a perfect suit for what we've got. We've got lots of stroke players and attacking players, but Gibbo could be that foil, and fingers crossed he gets out of
the wicket. And on that pitch, because you can trust the bounce, you've got no worries about bottom edging one when you're cutting or back foot driving, or if once you're in, you can trust the bounce. And what he does well is he defends his stumps early on really well. And like I say, bowlers are always in it. And on that pitch, I feel like if you can get past your first 20 or 30 balls and tick the ball over 50 strike rate plus, you can cash in and end up going 120, 130 strike rate. It's one of them pitches. And I think as a unit as well, Swansea this year, if the pitches are typical Swansea pitches, we've got massive advantages. We've got a hell of a bowling attack and a really good batting attack. And likelihood is I probably won't play too many games because I know second team cricket is 4 days and maybe plus a 1 day. I'm not too sure yet, but I know there's 4-day cricket for the twos this year. But
yeah,
like I say, allocations aren't out yet, but hopefully, and I would have thought I'd still be with you lads. And even if I don't play, I'm still a Swansea player, if you got what I mean. I'm still going to be on the end of the phone giving advice to the young lads if they need it, or I'm still going to be on the end of the phone for a laugh with one of you boys. You know what I mean? It's like I'll invest in a club even if I'm not playing for them, and that's what I did with Oswestry. Like Oswestry were amazing to me anyway, but the least I could do is invest in the actual club and help out where I could. And I think that's just a part of me now as a player, that if someone wants a call and needs a bit of help, it doesn't matter if I'm playing for the club week in or week out. I'm still signed up to your club. So I think, like I say, if anyone is watching this and they do need a chat or they need a bit of help with anything, I can still coach over the phone. I don't need to be there face to face.
No, and that's brilliant. I know our younger ones, for certainly, your Oshans, Sash, Joey, those guys are 100%. Even the sessions we did in November when Fitz and Brayhart were there as well. Like they're older guys, but same age, sorry, as you. But you could see how much they were looking up to you and listening about how you do things and how you work batsmen over and what your plans are. So we're really chuffed that you've come and done sessions for us and helped out the younger guys. And I did touch on it in the last episode. People on the outside wouldn't know this and wouldn't see it because we things are kept in house during the winter really, and with the trainings. October, November, December, most cricket clubs are packed up. They're not doing anything until February, but we've continued working hard, building our younger players up to try and sort of, whether it's next year or in 2 years' time, to be around and continue to sort of keep the Swansea way going. And I think playing with the better players and learning from the better players, that's only going to have a positive on the club. Gee, you must have seen it because you've no disrespect, but you've been at Swansea when they've been at the bottom and been relegated and struggled, and now you sort of you stuck through it and you're seeing sort of reward now for what's what we're trying to build moving forward.
Yeah, we did have a couple of rebuilding years. Let's just say that where we wiped the slate clean, and yeah, we're seeing the rewards right now. To be honest, with you, a lot of that's thanks to you. I think the players are really bought into what we're doing, which is great. I think back in the day, if you said look, pre-season starting in October, November, most of the boys just off. But these days, you got lads queuing up to come training. We could train 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and you still get boys there, which is great at the moment. I said everyone's buying into what we're doing with the Zoom. With the Strava stuff at the moment. Everyone's bought into doing it. Doing their own thing. Looking forward to the cricket season, which, as I said, not an awful lot of clubs have that as well. We've certainly never had it in Swansea, so it is good to see a committed group of lads, which stands in good stead, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, the guys on the Strava, apart from Tom Richards, who takes it to a different level again.
Yeah, he's cheating. There's no way he's racking those numbers up.
Yeah, one.
He's got his phone strapped to the dog. He has.
He asked me for crutches. He asked me for crutches last week. How's he still top if he needs crutches?
I mean, he was. His missus goes.
There was 1 week he was top, and Connor did a half marathon and got 20k in or something, or 21k in, and I think he went above Tom by about 2k, and Tom went out and did a 5k run, and it was about 6 o'clock, and I put in the group chat, I said, fair play, Con, brilliant run again, another 10k on top of your 20, that's incredible effort, mate. He went back out and ran another 5k to try and finish top. But in fairness, someone like in all fair, I know we're joking and having a laugh, but for those numbers, Tom, he runs to work in the morning. In fairness to him, at 7 o'clock in the morning, he's running to work. He works a full shift in the day, and then he runs another 7k home. In fairness, and I know he does a couple of k going to the chip shop and going to the shop to get milk and come back. he chucks them on Strava as well, but. Overall, I've been quite impressed with the buy-in from the guys. Has this week, like I said, you're number one this week, so fair play, brilliant effort, and I think nearly 60 kilometers this week, which is serious effort again with the numbers. Do you think you would be doing these numbers sort of over the last 3 or 4 weeks if that Strava group probably wasn't set up?
Probably not as much as 60k that I've done this week. There's. It's one of those things. You, as I said earlier, you have a busy day and you just want to get out and get active, and something like the Strava group can only help. It'll help with recovery in particular when it comes to playing games, because as we touched on earlier, we've got both Saturday and Sundays booked for pretty much all season now. Hopefully we continue winning and we'll have games both days. So recovery would be a big thing. Strava group's been great, and it's nice to be number one and not playing catch up to Tom Richard and some of the other guys. I'm also the first to admit I'm not the fittest in that group. It's just it's probably just a very lucky week, this one, for me.
But you've since the lockdown and stuff from January, you've lost a bit of weight, haven't you, Has, as well?
Yeah, I've dropped about 18 to 19 pounds in the last few months. Running's helped, and just healthy eating, really. You get to a stage where you want to make a positive change, and I'd like to think I've done that, or taken one more step towards that. It's all good. It's all good, Brad.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And Rome, last year during the lockdowns, you were doing a hell of a lot of running, weren't you? I think you were clocking up sort of 10, 15K regularly, pretty much every other day or something like that. So what sort of advice would you give the guys that are doing the running sort of on a regular basis?
Yeah, well, through lockdown, I did a charity sort of run thing for a month, doing 5K every day for a month. And it's not that much. I mean, it sounds a lot, but compared to what I've seen on Instagram recently on what people are doing, I mean, I follow a guy who I used to play cricket against, and he's doing ultra marathon soon, and he's doing a marathon in training. So you sort of take that into consideration, and you think it could have been a lot worse. So for the money that I raised for, it was Crohn's and Colitis UK. It wasn't too hard, but I think running's a skill in a way that you need to learn how to sort your breathing out, because that helps massively, which I didn't realize until being probably a week and a half, 2 weeks in. But doing so much running, you sort of, and this is where Fitzy comes into it as well for the lads, is that people are buying into Strava so much. Fitzy's then keeping up the strength side of it. And where I went wrong in lockdown was I ran 5K a day for a month and then kept the running up for a bit, but did pretty much no strength. I did body weight stuff, your sit-ups and your press-ups and that, but I didn't do enough because of the amount of running I was doing. I just lost muscle, I lost strength. And when I came back to Glamorgan, they were like, Christ, you look skinny. So I had a good winter as well. I wasn't small going into the summer. So that's a massive thing that I just sort of, I know I put a message into the chat just saying don't do too much with the amount of strength that you're going to be able to get in. Obviously gyms are closed and stuff, but Fitzy looks like Fitzy's doing a great job with the lads on keeping them strong and fit, along with the running that they're taking themselves out to do, which is, it's such a good thing to see a club cricket club being so professional and starting your pre-season so early and lads really buying into it. I mean, I don't see it anywhere. Something like that with the amount of numbers that you're churning out each week on your fitness apps or your fitness Zooms, and it's amazing to see. It really is amazing to see.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Ron, that you said with the running, because I probably after 2 weeks, I did running, I reckon out of 14 days, I was probably running 12 or 13 of them. And I did a couple of two, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And I missed 2 weeks of Fitzy's sessions on a Thursday and Tuesday because I had Zoom committee meetings, and then there was a league meeting, and then there was a Cricket Wales meeting, which I was in. And I went back to the to Fitzy's Zoom session, and honestly, I could feel such a difference. I was struggling to keep my core planks and stuff, and lunging and stuff, squats. So yeah, 100%. Fitzy sessions on a Thursday are really, really good in terms of the strength and conditioning, and he's done a brilliant job. And we did touch on it in the last episode or on the last podcast, that the guys who maybe haven't done as much or haven't done enough of the sort of Strava stuff or their own fitness stuff, come the first couple of games in pre-season, that's when muscles start getting pulled or injuries start happening, or people are stiff for 3, 4, 5 days after, and then it'll have a snowball effect on sort of performance. So in fairness, like G said, I think there's 25 guys in the Strava group chat, which is an incredible number. Some of them are parents as well, which are pushing their sons and stuff to do extra, which is brilliant. We'll go on to the league stuff now. G, I'll go with you first. You've played a lot of Premier League cricket and stuff. What if you could put something in place? If you were the yes man and you were in charge of the league, bringing in a rule. It can be any rule, or it can be a let's go a rule. What do you think? Have you got a rule in mind that you think would really benefit the league and would really push the league forward?
It's a good question. The league's been pretty proactive, to be fair to them. With power plays, and back in the day, you used to be able to bowl 15 overs as a bowler. That got scrapped, didn't it? Because you got to get away with bowling three decent bowlers and ruin the game for everyone else. So the league have been pretty proactive, and now we've gone across to coloured clothing as well. I don't think there's too much wrong with it. I'll be honest. I got no arguments with what the league have been doing. I said that really proactive with pink balls, orange balls, coloured clothing, power plays. I think they've done really well, to be honest. No
Yeah,
complaints
yeah. I'm with you. I think the coloured clothing was huge. I think that was a massive step going from whites to coloured kit, because I think in terms of that, you bring in, you know, the younger players or the juniors, if they're dressed the same as the first team, or you know, your whole club are dressed in the same way with names and numbers on the back. I mean, it's, you know, kids are more inclined to wear that type of clothing than to turn up in their whites, aren't they, to watch a game. And I think, in fairness to, you know, most clubs in the league now, you know, all the Premier League clubs have, and I'm seeing it now in other lower leagues, they're starting to buy into the coloured clothing. The orange ball was an interesting one, because when the league first announced the orange ball, a lot of people were sort of umming and ahhing, why are we going to orange ball? But I must admit, after probably 1 or 2 seasons, I would say it's the opposite now. I think most people are probably happy with the orange ball compared to where they are with the red ball. Hass, would you sort of agree with that?
Yeah, I love the orange ball personally, Brad. I prefer it over the red one. It's just a nice feel off the bat. It stays hard throughout the 40 to 50 overs, and it's clearly visible as well. So I'm a big fan of the orange ball personally.
Yeah, and Rome, you've played with red ball, you've played with white ball. I'm guessing you would have played second team game with pink ball. When you turned up to play for Swansea, and I give you an orange ball for the first over, what were your what were your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, I didn't grow up playing cricket down here, so I don't know how people think about changes with stuff, especially like cricket balls. But it was a weird feeling. It's obviously not much difference to bowling with a pink ball. Obviously, pretty much the same ball, different colour. But I can't find the words for it. It's just weird, if you get what I mean. You're so used to bowling with either a white or a red ball, and then before you know it, even in your peripheral vision coming in and loading up, you've got a big orange thing in your hand. I mean, like, what's going on here? Yeah. But I liked it though. It was a new experience for me, and I liked it. But just to pose a question on the league, right? What do you reckon about overseas? Because I'm a massive season club.
I'm glad you've brought it up, because my next question to you, Rome, was going to be, you obviously played for Oswestry, and you know, the links with the Birmingham Premier League. A lot of people, you know, say the Birmingham Premier League is one of the sort of strongest leagues in the country and things. And I played in Cornwall for 3 seasons, and you know, they were allowed overseas players down there as well. Truro Cricket Club had an Indian Test match player. He played 3 ODI games for India. He's got 2 50s and never played again. He averaged 55 in first class cricket. And I must admit, our guys had at Penzance were buzzing to play against him. They wanted to see how good he was. They wanted to sort of challenge themselves against those guys. And from a playing point of view, I feel, you know, during the season, over the last probably 2-3 seasons and things, especially as the league's got stronger, I think, and got better, and like Gareth said, the league have been proactive in bringing things forward. I think overseas players would be a fantastic shout for this league, and you can put stipulations in place where potentially, if you don't want one team to have, you know, a guy who's played 100 first class games, and then a club to have a grade cricketer who's 18 or something, so you know, the difference in standards, you could put stipulations in place to maybe go, right, let's go overseas player. He's got to be under the age of 25 or 26, and he can't have played more than 10 first-class games or 10 pro games or something like that. And then that way, it makes the standard stronger, I believe.
Yeah, well, the massive thing that I found in the Birmingham League, I mean, I played for Oswestry for 3 years with 3 different pros, and the standard of the Birmingham League, everybody knows the standard of Birmingham League is unbelievable. And the pros that came over really good. My first year we had Sadaf Hussain, and he was a serious bowler. I think he took 50 wickets that year. Big, tall left-arm seamer. Wasn't bowling full tilt all season. When he got annoyed, you saw him bowl full tilt, and he was pretty nippy. but he took 9 for 49 against Womborne. Like the bloke was a machine. But on other days, you saw the standard of other teams, a homegrown lad opening the bat in his 22, and he was whacking them everywhere. Like Sadaf was, I don't know, 1 for 45 or 5 or something like that. And that's because they've had 10, 15, 20 plus years of having your overseas over, even longer, but of having your overseas over, and it just filters into the standard of the cricket. And there's two massive advantages from overseas cricketers. Or three, I suppose. You could say your team gets better. If you get a good overseas, you're going to get half-decent results. But we're talking about inclusion with the kids and stuff like that, and the coloured kits coming in, coloured balls. If you've got kids around the cricket club and you've got, like you say, first-class Indian cricketers coming over and playing for your club, you're going to get so many more kids coming in and watching the game. And if they don't play, they don't play, but they're still watching the game. They're there. And the more kids that watch the game, the more are going to get involved. And the second point is that everybody else around them gets much better. They learn from them, whether it's off the pitch or on the pitch. They learn from them, and everyone's going to get better.
I agree 100%. I think overseas players are like, we're quick enough to sort of fly out and play 6 months in Australia or New Zealand or whatever. We're quick enough to go and do it, but we don't invite them back in. And I think, in terms of minor county cricketers, you turn up against Shropshire and Hereford, and most of those guys play in the Birmingham League, and they're playing, like you said, they're playing against overseas players. They're learning from overseas players. They're playing against good quality. So when they play minor counties cricket and they're playing against an ex-pro, they don't worry about the ex-pro player, and they don't worry about who's running in and bowling, because for probably the last 6, 7, 8 weeks they've been playing against most overseas pros, and they're good cricketers. You've obviously played in the league a long time. Is that something that you think potentially could sort of change over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think it will, to be honest, as well. The way the league's been going, I think, and I said they have been proactive. That is probably the next step. I said, as long as there's stipulations on it, as you said before, maybe a youngster or a set amount of first class games. I think it's going to be good, because they're going to add stuff to the community. They're going to do a bit of coaching with the kids, and it's just going to improve the overall standard of cricket. So I don't see any reason why not, and especially see Cardiff Uni, Swansea Uni, they get so many overseas students, and it'd be a shame for a good cricketer to come over and not be allowed to play club cricket, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I think as long as the stipulations are right, I said if you got a guy coming over who's played 150 first class games, then yeah, he could ruin your Saturday afternoon, couldn't he? But I think it will come in, to be honest. As I said, the league have been proactive in the last few years, so I think that would be probably the final step, to be honest.
It's interesting because we spoke to Harry Bryant in the last podcast, and he said Three Bridges have just signed a New Zealand first class cricketer, and in the last sort of 7 List A games, he's got 650s and he's got 100. Now, I mean that's a different overseas player again, but the Sussex Premier League have had the overseas rule in for years, so they can probably go and move it forward and forward and forward to this extent of, right, we're going to bring in an overseas player like him. Whereas in the South Wales Premier League, if it did get voted in, then I agree. I think if you say, right, okay, he can't have played professional maybe for the first couple of years, see how it goes. If clubs and this is where clubs have got to be key in South Wales to vote and say, yes, this is what we want as players, this is what we want. And I think sometimes it goes to committees, and a lot of the people who are in these meetings aren't actual players. They're more committee members who sort of, they're not playing anymore, and they sit back and they look at, in our day we didn't have it, so let's, and vice versa. Has, what's your thoughts on overseas players?
Not much more to add to what Roman and Gaz have said, to be honest, Brad. I'm a big fan of having overseas players. One thing I would like to add is we've had contact from about 2 or 3 players recently, or potential players recently, who've said we've moved to Swansea, or moved to the UK in the last 5 to 6 months, and we've played at certain levels in our home countries. Can we join your club? And it's a bit of a tough one, because you want to sign them, but at the same time you're not quite clear whether they'll be able to play Prem cricket for you. So I'm hoping that the league will consider all of this, and yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before we have overseas players playing here as well. Yeah,
it's good. As I said, when I was down in Cornwall playing for Penzance, we had an overseas player in our first team, Dylan Blignhout, South African, and our second team had an overseas player as well, Jackson Noonan from Australia, which is incredible because for our both teams, first and second team, were learning off these guys. But the most valuable thing for me was that Jackson, who's Australian, took two of the guys back with him to play club cricket in Australia then for 6 months, and he looked after them. So I mean, do you know, having a link like that, it would be incredible. Like I would love it to see someone like Oshan or Johan or go over, because Sam Pearce, for example, I played 5-6 years with Sam at Bridgend and seen him as a 12-year-old come all the way up to 17, 18. Sam went away to Australia for a year or 6 months, sorry. He came back and he was a completely different bloke. He'd learned, he did things for himself. He learned. He was like more grown up. He had a better playing level behind him. He was a proper player when he came back then. Instead of having that potential, he came back to South Wales and he was a proper player. So yeah, that link can open up so many doors. Lots of people see it as, they're just, overseas player, they're just playing. They offer so much. They could be working on the ground, they could be coaching, they could be helping behind the bar, they could be, around a lot of things throughout the year. So that's certainly something I feel that maybe moving forward, as you said, Gareth, the league have been really proactive recently in recent years, and it's been really good to be involved in and see how the league have sort of pushed cricket on in South Wales. So hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll see some overseas players in. We've touched on pre-season. Has, you've obviously got a full second team schedule, just like the first team. You looking forward to those games?
Yeah, very much looking forward to them, Brad. We've got 5 second team games lined up. So we start off with Anastawi and Maesteg. Then we've got a game against Tondi the following week. And then to finish off, we've got Merthyr and Mumbles. So the plan is to hopefully, once we're allowed, to give all our players a decent opportunity. So it'll be a mix of both senior and junior players. What we have in our club is a lot of diversity. We have players, well, not only players like glam players like Roman allocated to us, but we've got ex pros like Gibbo and Kazi, and then of course local players here, and then uni players like Harry Bryant and Ralph Swinscoe, Gus Simon, etc. So once we've done all the planning over the next few weeks, it'll just be a case of giving everybody an opportunity, and whoever performs will automatically make it into the 11 for the league that hopefully starts in May.
Yeah, no, it's good, and I think the important thing with the pre-season games is, if the first team had played 5 and the second had played 1, there would have been a lot of players missing out on opportunities to play and things. So, in terms of the buy-in that we've had over the winter, and the people turning up on Strava, the people turning up on Fitzy's training program stuff, as you mentioned, the university students and things, we're catering for pretty much everyone, so there's opportunity for everyone to play. Gar, what if you had a crystal ball and we could fast forward to September, where obviously take your non-bias cap off, where do you think sort of Swansea, how do you think Swansea's season would have gone come September? What's the hopes?
Hopes are obviously to win the league, and to be honest, there's no reason why we can't. It's going to be hard. It is a tough league. Other clubs have made some very good signings. We know it's a hard league, but I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't be up the top challenging. I don't think we're going to run away with the league. No one's going to run away with the league. I said it's a pretty tough league, as I said, but I think trophies is the main thing associated with Swansea clubs. So it'll be nice come the end of the season, whether it be a league, a Welsh Cup, just to win trophies, to be honest with you. And I don't see any reason why we can't.
Yeah, and the last 2 years, obviously we got promoted back into the Premier League and won Prem 2, which was nice, first year in, and to get back into Prem 1 where a club like Swansea should be in Prem 1, shouldn't it? You look at the likes of Cardiff and Port Talbot, Bridgend, city-based type club. You want, Swansea needs to be sort of in that bracket, really, playing Premier cricket. And obviously last year we won the T20 then. Just thinking, in terms of our side, we're going to have probably a couple of guys away playing minor counties potentially on a Sunday. We're going to have, Roman might have played all week in the second team. With Glamorgan might want to rest. I just think our depth is very good in terms of how we've recruited. We haven't just gone out and recruited 5 or 6 players and just brought them all in. And I think we've been quite. I think we've worked it quite well in terms of what we needed maybe at the end of last year, and I think we were quite quick to react. And I knew Gibbo from my time in Cornwall, so Gibbo was quite a good get straight away. And Harry and Sam Cooper and Gus and Rafi from Sussex knew about James coming up as well. So I think that's the other thing people don't see, is that we had links with these players before. It wasn't a case of we just went after them and brought them in and said, right, okay, see you in March, April. They've all integrated really well. They've actually trained as a group together. And I think that's sort of the good team bonding thing with these pre-season games as well. We get to see how everybody plays and adapts with each other on the field. Rome, over to you, bud. Obviously, the Glamorgan fixtures and stuff are out now. And are you hoping for crowds and stuff? Obviously, you played T20s, not last year, the year before, and played in front of decent crowds. You played at Somerset, which would have been a really good night. Are you hoping for crowds to come back for this year?
100%, mate. Yeah, I think everybody is, from the lowest level up to the top. Do you know what I mean? You guys are going to miss your crowds at Swansea, and we've certainly missed our crowds the last sort of 12 months. And it's a sport for crowds. You know what I mean? It's not the same without crowds. It's the same. Watching football on the TV without crowds is weird. It just doesn't feel the same. You haven't got the same atmosphere, and it changes teams' approach to playing as well, really. Or once you're in the game. I mean, you see football teams who'd never lose against a certain football team. Like Liverpool tonight lost against Fulham 1-0, and I left.
Good.
You don't like Liverpool, but I bet my house on it that they'd play completely different if they had the full Anfield crowd behind them. You've got lads who've grown up supporting Liverpool, playing at Anfield, being in that crowd. They're going to play different. And I think a lot of teams, especially teams like Surrey and your Somersets and stuff, who do get full houses at their stadiums, who are lucky enough to get full houses, they'll play so much better with a crowd, and it's so much more fun with a crowd. So much more fun. It's
interesting, isn't it? Look, we played at Pontedilais, and obviously Hasan G, you played that game last year, where we went to Pontedilais. And usually Pontedilais is bouncing, like it's one of those grounds that you enjoy going to because it's packed. Down the ground, brilliant layout. Lots of people watching. At the top end of the ground where the car park is, you get people sitting on their seats at that end. You have guys down the bottom. It's one of those grounds that you sort of look in the league handbook and you see Pontedilais away. We played there last year and there was a little bit of a crowd, not probably sort of 20% maybe, all obviously socially distanced and things. But then the interesting thing for me, when we went to the final, there was absolutely zero crowd because they stopped people on the gates coming in and even socializing or whatever, and you couldn't, not even socially distance, you weren't allowed. And it was interesting that the difference in atmosphere from the semi-final to the final was like chalk and cheese almost. Do you think, Gar?
Yeah, it didn't feel like a final, to be honest. Obviously, Wicked didn't help. It was minefield, wasn't it? But it just didn't feel like a final, did it?
No.
There's no one there watching. As I said, normally, to be fair to Clydach as well, they have a good following, don't they? So it would have been a really good atmosphere. But as I said, they felt the same, I think. It just didn't feel like a final, unfortunately. So that is one thing. Obviously, we don't get massive crowds back watching, but it's nice to have some people there. So when we go to the Bont, Batalba get a few watching them, don't they, as well? It is nice to go to these places and have a bit of support going on, especially as the afternoon goes on and People have had some beers down them, and no doubt we'll get a bit from the crowd next year. So looking forward to that. But it is just much better with the crowd there, as you said, much better.
It's funny, Has, because same question to you, Brad. What did you think?
Yeah, it was completely different, Brad. Bonds was, as you said, not very busy, but busy enough for you to feel the presence of people there. And then the final at Gosainen was just a completely different game altogether, not just on the pitch, but with no people being there. So yeah, hopefully we'll have crowds soon, and it can only help. As Roman said, it's one of those sports you want people there. So hopefully once things do get better, we'll have more people coming to watch, not just other grounds, but St. Helens as well. We've got quite a few sort of staunch supporters. Few of them come and watch our games, particularly first team games at St. Helens. So for their sake and everybody else, hopefully it'll be allowed soon.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of clubs in the South Wales League that sort of are reliant on quite a few people turning up to for bar take-ins or selling some food or like things like that. And I think a lot of clubs will hope that over the next couple of weeks, I wouldn't hold my breath that this week he's going to say, yeah, lockdown's done now and you can all go out and do what you want. I think it's going to be obviously a gradual process of first stipulation, second stipulation, and third, and so on. But hopefully, we can sort of have the similar route to how England are going to go on the 29th of March, when they can sort of effectively open up to sports clubs to a limited amount and play football, play rugby, play cricket. Hopefully Wales will be in the same boat, and we'll be able to get a full cricket season in, fingers crossed. Lads, look, it's been brilliant catching up with you, and Rome, thanks for your time, bud. You've obviously got a busy schedule as the season's sort of coming up with Glamorgan and stuff, so really appreciate you being on the call. Cheers, mate.
No worries, pal. Always a pleasure.
Good stuff. G, straight to bed now, is it?
Yeah, I had a late one last night. I had a few beers, so film an early night for me, I think.
Yeah, Has another 5K tonight or bedtime?
No, all done for the week now. Straight to bed in a bit.
Recharge that electric scooter ready for next week.
Yeah, get it ready for tomorrow morning.
Good work, lads. Brilliant to catch up, and look forward to catching up with you in the next couple of weeks.
Cheers, Brad.
Great.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, guys.